Hey guys, welcome back to She Became Me podcast. I'm your host, Lentina Rogers, where we unlock pain, passion, and power. So today we have a very interesting guest for you. And as you can see here, we have Miss Ashley Kirkland Martin, and she is the owner of Kirkland Funeral Home. So we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, all about this death thing and about the feelings around it and what kind of motivated Ashley. So as you guys can see, I'm doing a solo interview today. My crew is not with me today, so shout out to Yolanda J. Brown and Rodnika Heil, because they couldn't be with us today, but they send their best wishes to you all. So let's get to it. So, Miss Ashley,
Yes, ma'am.
so tell our viewers about how did you get here? How did you, as a black female, decided to open her own funeral home?
It has always been my passion
Okay.
to be a funeral director.
Wow.
Never my passion to quite open my own. I never thought that I would
Oh,
do
okay.
that.
Okay.
But I saw along my years in the profession
Hmm.
that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
So you felt like it was like a spiritual calling or
Since
just
I was
something
6.
really deep. Really?
Since I was 6 years old. Yes, ma'am.
So how did that feel like at 6 years old to know that you wanted to, like, deal with the dead?
As a young child, just going to my first funeral.
Really?
And
Okay.
seeing having the atmosphere that we were in,
Mhm.
and not understanding what was going on,
Okay.
but realize that this is for me. This is,
Wow.
you know,
So you felt comfortable
yes,
and you felt like, hey, I like this and this is what I want to do.
yes, ma'am,
At 6 years old?
yes, ma'am,
Huh.
Yes,
That's,
ma'am.
that's fantastic. And
yes.
so here we are today and you actually went past being a funeral director, right?
I went past it.
So were you ever a funeral director?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I'm a licensed funeral director in
Okay.
Balmer here in Indiana,
Okay.
and I have been since 2010.
Okay.
And I have worked for multiple funeral homes.
Okay.
As well as a independent embalmer
Okay.
across the state. So just having the variety of funeral homes,
Okay.
not just one demographic, but multiple,
Okay.
and just owning, taking from this funeral home and from that funeral home and from that director,
Okay.
and coming up with who,
To create your own. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So.
I mean, I think I am blown away. That is fantastic that, for one, a lot of times our dreams we have barriers and fears
Mhm.
that kind of interfere.
Mhm.
And I just think it's
I've
just
had
outstanding.
barriers.
Yeah,
Yes.
outstanding that you overcome. Will you like sharing some of the barriers that you had to overcome to get here?
Yes, overcoming, starting off by being a black female,
Right.
coming out of mortuary college.
Mm-hmm.
Not black funeral homes would not allow me to be their intern.
Really?
Correct. So I started off my
Hmm.
internship at a white funeral home.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. So
So, can you tell us a little bit about that? I would have thought that they would have been the open arms to.
we're supposed to be open.
Yeah.
arms, but it's one of those things where a person has to feel comfortable
Okay.
enough with you
Okay.
to allow you to come into what is sacred and meaningful, and also just to know that this is what we do here,
Okay.
and they don't want everyone in, and I get that.
Okay.
I get that.
Wow.
Yes.
But I guess that's all I can say about that is wow.
hmm But
Okay.
I'll be honest and say that I appreciate the fact that the doors I knocked on, they didn't answer,
Right.
because the one that did, showed, I grew up. you
Okay.
know, I grew with
Okay.
them starting off, so,
Okay.
yes.
So as a child and as growing, during your years of growing up, did you do any other jobs in between
I
getting
did.
to college to
Yes.
being a mortuary? Okay.
I have, I worked for your cell phone companies.
Okay.
I worked for Riley Hospital in the
Okay.
NICU as a secretary.
Okay.
Worked for the Marion County Coroner's Office.
Okay.
As an autopsy technician. But my whole thing is I have to get back in
Yeah.
funeral service.
You never forgot where you're supposed to be.
Oh no, oh
Okay.
no, oh no, no.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's amazing. So I got a couple questions that my co-host, also had sent me to make sure that we ask you.
yes ma'am,
So I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions here.
yes.
So, let me find this one. It is. Just give me a second. Look, I'm slow.
You're fine.
Let me see here. Okay, so now, what I want to bring up now is, can you give our viewers some idea about the malpractice or negligence and some things like that that happen sometimes that we hear about, but we
Yes.
don't know the real deal about what's going on behind the scenes when we hear people say stuff like that.
In regards to our loved ones, or
Yeah, when we hear people say that they're going to sue the funeral home for this and that, for
Well,
that
yes.
negligence and different things, what are some of the stories or some of the things that?
we just had a seminar yesterday regarding this actual
Okay,
topic.
okay,
It's always going to be the funeral home's fault.
okay.
Okay.
Really?
In the opinion,
right.
whether or not the casket messed up,
Okay,
they family hired us, right?
right,
We hired a vendor.
right, okay,
Okay. The thing is, if that casket messes up, it should not fall on us, but
Right.
it does.
right,
Okay. If there is a loved one at the cemetery, and perhaps the strap where the vault sits on,
Mhm.
if that breaks,
mhm,
they're going to think it's the funeral home,
Okay.
right? It's not. It's really the vault company.
okay,
So it's one of those things where, yes, it is important for the community to know that everything does not fall on the funeral home.
Okay.
If you're a professional funeral home, you will accept responsibility up to a certain extent.
right, I got
But we
it,
also have to make sure that we cover ourselves.
right,
And also that our vendors are covered as well with insurance and as
Right.
well as the funeral home.
okay, so different things happen, the vendors have insurance and everything would be, recovered or
Yes,
whatever
yes.
is going on
Yes, ma'am.
with there, okay.
That's
Okay,
a good
well,
question.
so when choosing a funeral home, what are some red flags to identify that you may be being taken advantage of? What are some red flags people can look for when choosing a funeral home?
As soon as you walk in the door, you would feel it or not.
Really?
You're gonna feel whether you are
In the right
going
place?
in the right place. You're gonna, even over the phone,
Mm-hmm.
if you have that, that meeting of the minds where I don't think this is gonna work out, even
Yeah.
over the phone.
Yeah,
When you walk into that funeral home and when you speak to that funeral director or their staff,
Mhm.
you should feel warm.
yeah.
You should feel like you're the only family that is being served.
Mm-hmm.
Your loved one is the only one that's being taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no rushing.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no, let me step out for a moment and leave you guys for 30 minutes.
Right,
You know,
right,
the family's time is just as valuable as the funeral home's time.
right.
You know, so
Okay.
they're, you know,
That's great customer service, so yeah, that, always is gonna make the difference.
mm-hmm.
So I have a question about, let's talk about the difference between cremation and traditional burials. So I know that a lot of family members and the older traditional people in the family tend to want to say, I want to be buried and
Mm-hmm.
I want a funeral and a casket and stuff. So a lot of more people that are more modern moving more towards cremation. So can you give us a little bit of insight on, like, financially or emotionally or personally, what are some of the differences that you see may make the difference, or that somebody may not know?
Well, actually I'll use my own experience.
Okay.
My own personal experience. My grandparents had my mom's father and mother both had plots
Okay.
at a cemetery
Okay.
years ago.
Mhm.
So before Granny passed, she said, I don't want to be buried because I don't want the bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
on me,
Okay.
So it's like we'll do a traditional service
Mhm.
with cremation.
Okay.
So my granny did that, and then unfortunately, 59 days later, my mom passed away.
Oh wow.
So we did a service with cremation for her as well.
Okay.
That's what she stated she wanted. She's like, I want it just like mom.
Okay.
We know it's gonna be so soon.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so the benefit, if anything, to cremation is knowing that your loved one can come back with you.
Okay.
Their essence can be placed in an urn
Mhm.
and be brought, home.
Home.
The other thing is, cremation is just another way of saying final disposition.
Mhm.
Cremated remains can still go into the cemetery.
Okay. Okay.
From a financial standpoint, there's not a lot of a difference, especially if you want to do a service with cremation. You still
Okay.
have your casket, you still have embalming, we are still dressing you. The only thing that we're not doing is taking you to a cemetery. So the cemetery cost is not on you,
Okay.
and then your escorts are not there.
There.
So
So my question is, now is there another cremation you can have that you don't want that type of service?
correct. You have simplistic cremation,
Mhm.
which is just our loved one coming into our care.
Okay.
The family can come in, see their loved one before the cremation takes place,
Okay.
and then once that has been completed, they go back into the care of their family. Another way,
And that's a lot less expensive,
it
right?
is, yes, ma'am. And then you can hold your memorial service for your loved one. at a
Wherever.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you this question. So I've been thinking, and I don't know if anybody else been thinking this, what is the benefit of paying for an insurance policy for 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Except, of course, we know if you just want to leave money to someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can pay on your final arrangements ahead of time, especially like a cremation,
Yes.
that's very affordable.
Mhm.
You could pay that off, and you would say what in payments of a year or two?
Yeah, you can prearrange your services.
Mhm.
You can utilize your insurance policy to pay for that prearrangement.
While you're paying on it.
Yes.
See, I don't think people know that.
Yes, your insurance policy can be given over to the funeral home as a beneficiary.
While you are alive.
Yes.
So, I don't think people know that. So, like right now, you can have your
Right
insurance
now?
pay for your cremation service right now
Yes.
while you're paying on it.
With your insurance policy. So if that insurance policy has been paid for, it's paid in full, and you're still paying on it,
Mhm.
you make that funeral home the beneficiary.
Mhm.
Then at the time of passing, that prearrangement company will then go forth, and we would basically have a document or an assignment
Mhm.
to utilize that insurance policy to cover those services.
And then they just give you a check or whatever's left over.
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
But what if, okay, so basically just making the funeral home your beneficiary is basically paying for your cremation services.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's go a little deeper.
Yes.
So what if I don't want
Want to
an
pay.
insurance policy?
What if you come in and say, just can I
Yeah.
get information on prearrangement?
Yes.
Okay. What we're gonna do is show you our pricing as of today.
Mhm.
If you wanna fill out any information regarding your vitals,
Mhm.
which would be your pertinent information, we can do that as well.
Okay.
You don't have to have any money to do that,
Okay.
okay? But what happens is families will tell their loved one or their next of kin, I went ahead and prearranged my funeral at this funeral home.
Right.
No, you just pre-planned. You looked at these services, you thought about, this is what I wanna do, I'm gonna pick out this casket,
Mhm.
pick out that, but you never put money towards it.
Right.
So now we're 5 years later, 10 years later.
Right.
Your family thought,
that it was paid in full.
and it's not. Wouldn't even start.
So now, what is the lowest amount that a person could get cremated? My mind, I think I looked it up before, $700. Is that true in
Yes.
Indiana?
Yes, it varies from funeral home.
Somewhere in there?
Yes, ma'am. But you always want to make sure, what does this $700
Covered.
include?
Right. So let's just say that's the estimate. Let's just say $1,000 estimate.
Mm-hmm.
So that is still more reasonable than people having a GoFundMe's to pay for people's funerals.
Yes.
When the families can actually come in, pick out a plan for at least cremation,
Mm-hmm.
and they can pay on it. Because, you know,
We pay
I
for
kinda
crab
think-
legs.
yeah, so I think kind of like, okay, we play for lottery tickets.
Yes.
I think just like kind of in the black community, we're so stuck on insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really have to have an insurance policy, but you can actually come into the funeral home,
And make
and
a
all that
monthly
money
payment.
that you're paying on insurance, you can make a monthly payment. I'm just gonna take a guess for at least anywhere from a year to two for cremation, even if it's
Mhm.
low payments.
Yes.
And from 2 to 5 years, you could probably pay for a whole
Service.
low cost service. If you know, in 5 years,
Mhm.
then worrying about a policy for 20 years, and then you miss 1 or 2, and you get sick and you can't pay it, and then you mess it up.
Mess it
So I
up.
think a lot of people are stuck on that. So I was just kind of thinking, we need to find a new idea
Mhm.
about and thinking of new ways around what can we do besides have GoFundMe's when somebody died in the black community.
The GoFundMe's are very popular within a lot of communities.
Okay.
And not just the
Oh,
black
really?
community. Mhm.
Okay, I just haven't really seen them, I guess.
Mhm.
But
They-
so lots of people do this, so we can quit getting on our backs about doing it, because you see everybody's coming doing it.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's one thing about me is
Okay.
it's blacks do one thing, whites do another, but at the end of the day, nobody knows it. We're all doing the same thing,
Dang, okay,
you know.
yeah. Sometimes we don't.
No, and
Yeah. I don't know. Well, some people feel like that. You know, I'm not gonna worry about it until it happens.
I know, and the horrible thing of it is seeing children sitting at a table trying to figure out, well, first off, where's mom's social at? We don't know where any paperwork is at.
Yeah,
We don't know her bank account information.
yeah,
We don't know what we're gonna do financially. This is how much money we can come up with right now. But we want a service, but we don't know how to pay for it because they
Right.
never wanted to talk about
got it. Right.
Not even like Sunday football game, just speaking about certain things while you guys are watching
Mhm.
TV, just getting that knowledge,
Right.
you know, of what your grandmother may want or what your uncle may want. It actually helps you.
Yeah.
So you don't walk into the funeral home, you're already
Stress.
stressed.
Yes.
And you don't know what to do because we don't talk about it.
Right. Right. Now I agree with that. Lots of people don't like to talk about it. They don't, tell their loved ones, where everything is at. I keep this here. I keep
There you
that
go.
there.
Yes, yes.
And that is a big problem.
That is. At least that one grandchild, we all seem to be the favorite.
Yeah.
But that favorite grandchild needs to know
Yeah.
where documents are at.
Yeah.
You know, your
I
DD
agree.
214 for your veterans.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we honor them and their service that they did for our country.
Right.
It's just certain things that,
And so, and people could pick up the phone, even and call maybe you
yes.
or funeral home and find out what are some of the things I would need to know if my loved one passed.
Mhm.
So that way they'll have an idea.
Yes.
Do you guys have a checklist? Or,
We do have a checklist.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes.
That people can have in the public or in
Yes.
the community?
Yes, you come right here to the funeral home.
Okay.
I will, or any funeral home.
Okay.
You should be able to get some information
Okay.
needed prior to.
So you guys heard that. So if you get a chance, stop by Kirkland's Funeral Home, and Ashley will help you make sure you start some pre-planning.
Yes.
And you can even, start picking out a service that you may want, and then you can just start paying on it.
Yes.
So that way your loved ones won't be so stressed or if you're the caregiver, the
Yes.
caretaker for your parents or someone else in your family, you just might want to start figuring out what do I need to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what we're gonna do now is, Ashley, we have a part of our show that's called She Mail.
Okay.
And with She Mail, we take questions from our viewers. They email us and they give us questions, and we give an opinion.
Okay.
So we also invite our guests to give their opinion on this question. So let me get one of these, read one of these for you guys. Okay, so the first She Mail question is, if I canceled the wedding, would I give the ring back? No, should I give the ring back? If he canceled, should I keep it as a gift?
Mm.
If I cancel the wedding, should I give the ring back?
Mhm.
If he canceled, should I keep it as a gift? Oh my.
Mm.
What do you think about that, Ashley?
Well, if I canceled the wedding,
Yes.
you can have a ring. You cancel the wedding, I'ma keep it.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. It's a gift. I'm sorry that you got
for my
caught.
troubles.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a good question.
I kind of agree with that, because if you led me on all the way up to this point that I've already sent out my invitations, I bought a dress.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I've got my family and friends and people coming into town.
Yes.
I've got caterers, I got DJs,
Yes.
and you couldn't figure out at this point,
At this point.
until this point, that you didn't want to get married. That's the least I can do, is keep the ring to recover some of my money
Well,
back.
yes, ma'am.
Let alone my feelings are gonna just be on the floor. We
Yeah.
can't pick that up. That's gonna take some time to pick them
That
up.
will.
But at least I can keep the ring to help offset some of my finances. I
Yes,
guess.
ma'am.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we agree on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go to another one. Okay. Well, this one is about boundaries. How do you get your family to respect your boundaries without hurting their feelings? How do you get your family
Mm.
to respect your boundaries without hurting their feelings?
Mm.
Mm. Well,
Well,
what you think? What you think, Ashley?
ooh, that's a good question. I can. Wow, I just went through this.
Did you? Okay.
It's a sad time when you cannot communicate with your family member
Yeah,
about boundaries
yeah,
and it not be taken so personal.
yeah.
We all should have boundaries, right?
Yes, yes.
Doesn't mean
definitely.
I don't love you.
Right.
Doesn't mean,
Right,
I look at you less than,
right,
but just respect my boundary.
yeah,
But if you can't,
yeah,
that's on you.
yeah,
But communication should be key with that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, first of all, I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. People have to take responsibilities for their own feelings and ask themselves, why do I feel that way? When somebody is just asking me to respect something that makes them comfortable. If a person is uncomfortable, like here's a big one. If a person is uncomfortable with you just dropping by without calling, and they say, hey, I don't like company, I like to know people's coming to my house,
Yes.
and if that makes them uncomfortable, you really need to grow up and be responsible, because if that hurts your feelings, that means that you are an immature adult, because that should, no matter what the thing is, you should be adult enough to say, okay, if that makes them uncomfortable, then I won't do it.
Correct.
So, I mean, we all have different ideas and different ways to do things, and we have to be responsible enough and mature enough to leave room to respect everybody's if theirs is different than yours, especially if it's not hurting anybody.
My sister is a boundary person.
Uh-huh.
I just have to actually realize that it is okay to have boundaries.
Yeah, definitely.
And I appreciate knowing that someone can give me constructive criticism on boundaries.
Yes.
And me understand. I get that.
Well,
if you're not a hugger,
yes,
you're not a hugger.
that's right, and people should be okay with that.
Yes.
And constructive criticism. Now that is tough because you have to ask yourself, if you don't have one person on the planet that can give you constructive criticism, you gotta ask yourself, I mean, what is my problem? It has to be someone that you trust enough that they wouldn't tell you anything wrong, they wouldn't tell you anything that's gonna hurt you, they wouldn't do anything against you. Now I get it, a lot of people may bamboozle you and a lot of people may say stuff coming from a wrong place and space and
Yes,
and got different motives. But it
Yes.
has to be someone that you trust enough that can give you constructive criticism. But if there's not, then you need to go back and reflect on you and figure out why. There's something seriously wrong with you. Because none of us are perfect.
Correct.
And there will always be someone that you should be able to believe that they're telling you the truth and what they love you
They
and
love
what's
you
best
enough
for you.
to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, we talk about that a lot on some of our different shows, is that everybody can't handle the truth. Now, I don't know if I'm that person sometimes to be the one to tell you the truth, but hopefully there's somebody, and it may not be me. You know, so sometimes you gotta know if you're that person or not for that particular person to do that too, so.
Yes.
That's my point of view on that. So let me see. Okay, I got another one, a question that says, this is about the funeral stuff. So it says, how do you know the ashes you're given of your loved one is actually their ashes? And do you clean the furnace in between procedures?
Yes.
And then, okay, go ahead, because they got like a two-part. So let's talk about that.
Yes. Well,
How do you know?
all of our loved ones go into the retort, which is the crematory.
Okay,
It is one person at a time.
okay,
They are tagged, and
Okay.
sometimes they are also fingerprinted as well,
okay,
if the family does request that.
okay,
Everyone, once that process has taken place, the retort is cleaned out
okay,
before another loved one goes in.
okay.
Yes.
So that's how.
Yes. Yes, it is, I know people
Wonder that.
wonder
Yeah,
and are like, they're scared sometimes
Yeah.
of cremation
Yeah.
because they don't know if they're getting their loved one
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
you know. But that's then on the funeral home, making sure they are selecting the right crematory, the one that they know is going to do what they're supposed to do. Because if there's ever a lawsuit, you know, or someone that, you know, questions that, you wanna make sure everyone has the right documentation.
So it sounds like, if you're gonna be in the funeral business, you need to have high integrity, high character.
Yes.
People is expecting you to definitely do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Well, yeah, and you only have one time to do it.
Yes, right,
You know?
yeah, and that's it, you
That's
want your
it.
reputation.
That's it.
So the second part of that question said, if I have a hip and knee replacement, what happens if I'm cremated? Does that melt, or do they dispose of it differently?
Well, I'm gonna not go so graphic into that.
Okay.
But what I will say is, we're made up of calcium.
Okay.
So that, you know, everything comes out. And,
Okay, right.
You know,
Yeah,
the hip replacement is in with the ashes as well.
so it'll just melt and become part of the ashes?
Yes,
It will burn and melt as well?
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
yes.
Okay, so that type of stuff, it's not like it's just gonna be sitting there like the hip part just.
Oh,
sit
no,
there.
no.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's a
Well,
good question.
yeah. So, Ashley, you wanna go ahead and, give your address, your phone number? How
Yes.
can our, viewers reach you for questions, or if they have a loved one that, has recently passed and they're looking for a funeral home?
Yes.
Or just, you know, maybe just come by and get questions and do some pre-planning. Where can they reach you at?
Yes, ma'am. Ashley Kirkland Martin of Kirkland Funeral and Cremation Services. I'm located on the east side of Indianapolis at 16th and Post Road, at 1519 North Post Road, Indianapolis 46219. You can call me directly at, my cell phone, area code 317-965-5189. The funeral home's phone number is area code 463-206-2685.
Okay.
That phone number actually just comes directly over to my cell phone.
Okay.
Any questions, you can also go to kirklandfuneral@gmail.com, and also visit our website as well, kirklandfuneral.com. So, yes,
Okay, that's
yes.
great.
And I'm here a lot.
Okay.
And if I'm not here, then you can still call me, and I live like 5 minutes away.
Okay.
So I'm always going to be there
Available.
Available.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. We don't have any more excuses on, like, some of the reasons why we're not prepared for our loved ones and even for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still planning, because I want to go ahead and
Yes.
I'm looking around, and that's why I thought it was very interesting, because I want to go ahead and prepay, and so that my family don't have to worry about it. They just say, hey, call the funeral home. They have everything. They'll handle it all. I did it, before I passed.
Yes, ma'am.
We all could take a few minutes and kind of look into that. That would be easier on your loved ones.
Sure would. Yes.
So this is
Kirkland is independently
oh, okay.
owned and operated.
Oh, yeah. How long have you been open too?
It'll be 2 years in November.
Oh, wow.
I'm just a baby.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. Look, before November
But-
either, but
Well, I'm a baby in the entrepreneur, but
okay.
yeah.
But Stan, I'm excited for you though, and I think it's amazing that you're here and that you serve in our community. So I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, DNA Publishing. I want to continue to thank Ms. Denola Burton for sponsorship for She Became Me podcast, and I want to thank you guys for taking the time to be with us tonight. So until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you.